we have some interesting news coming out of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission we need to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump on to my screen. This article is coming out of CoinDesk. SEC Chairman Gensler agrees with predecessor. Every ICO is a security. Now, I'm going to reserve my opinions for this until the end, but I will go ahead and read all of this because I have some very interesting opinions on this that you may or may not like. Gensler said he believes crypto trading platforms might already have securities listed. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commissioner Chairman Gary Gensler said he believes the vast majority of crypto tokens and initial coin offerings violate U.S. securities law. In a speech in the Aspen Security Forum on Tuesday, Gary said he agrees with Jay Clayton, his predecessor at the SEC, who once famously said that in his view, every ICO I've seen is a security. Generally, folks buying these tokens are anticipating profits, and there's a small number of entrepreneurs and technologists standing up and nurturing the projects, Gensler said in prepared remarks. I believe we have a crypto market now where many tokens may have been unregistered securities or may be unregistered securities without required disclosures or market oversight. Gensler reiterated earlier comments that stock tokens and stable value tokens backed by securities qualify as securities in his view, meaning they must be registered and their issuers must be abiding by existing federal law. A typical trading platform has more than 50 tokens on it. In fact, many have well in excess of 100 tokens. While each token's legal status depends on its own facts and circumstances, the probability is quite remote that with 50 or 100 tokens, any given platform has 0 securities, said Gensler. Gensler also briefly hinted at how his agency might approach exchange-traded funds, ETFs. More than a dozen industry participants have filed applications to launch a Bitcoin ETF over the past year. It's been in the news for the last 4 years. Everybody wants an ETF. I think it's overhyped. We'll talk about that in a future video, though. Gensler noted that investment vehicles with exposure to crypto, including mutual funds, already exist. While Gensler didn't comment on the proposals themselves, he called out the importance of having investor protections codified into law. Given these important protections, I look forward to the staff's review of such filings, particularly if those are limited to the CME-traded Bitcoin futures, he said, referring to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That's the end of the article. Before I give my take, because Tim has no idea what I think about this, what do you think about this, Tim? I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, I was reading this article this morning. I don't know exactly what to think because he didn't go after anything individually. The statement, I don't know if I read the same article that you just read, but pretty much he was saying, what are the odds that these exchanges would that have like between 50 to 100 projects on them, not one of them is a security.
Yeah.
He's not great. He didn't actually go after any individual project. He went after, but he did say like pretty much every single exchange most likely is a security, or at least using it as security. Did you ask what I think that you're going to think about this?
No. What do you think? No.
What I think is this is, again, I think somebody who it's almost like his job is to think that there are securities and everything.
He is the chairman of the SEC.
Yeah, his job is to look for the boogeyman, so he's finding the boogeyman wherever he looks.
It's true.
I don't know. This one I'm gonna say I don't know.
Yeah, to be fair, guys, I kind of put you in a sticky situation because I'll be honest with you, the first 2 years I was in crypto, I didn't know what the hell a security was. So that's on me.
I'm learning. I understand the definition of a security. I don't know how to fully pinpoint.
I got you.
Like for me, like I'm looking at like XRP and I'm understanding what the accusation against XRP was, but I'm not fully understanding why it was there. So.
Right. So let's go ahead, and I actually want to read a definition of a security because, like I said, this is something that I was very confused about for a long time. These financial instruments and terms can be very confusing, and if they're not explained clearly, it doesn't really help if I'm talking about whether or not an ICO is a security or not, if you don't have a good understanding of what a security is. So let's read on from Investopedia right here. What is a security? The term security refers to a fungible, negotiable financial instrument. I'll come back to fungible and negotiable and explain what that means, that typically holds some form of monetary value. You know what monetary value means? It just means it has value. It represents an ownership position in a publicly traded corporation via a stock, a creditor relationship with a governmental body, or a corporation represented by owning that entity's bond, or rights to ownership as represented by an option. So, let's break all this down because I'll just go ahead and say it. I think Gary's right. It's not going to be popular. I'm going to explain why, but I think he's right on this ICO stuff, and I've been saying it for a couple of years. I haven't mentioned it recently, so you might not know that's my take, but let me explain why. Essentially, what a security is, let's break this down line by line, refers to a fungible, Fungible basically means that it is transactable. I'll go ahead and read directly from Investopedia on what their on what their definition of it is. Fungibility is the ability for a good or asset, like Bitcoin or an ICO, to be interchanged with other individual goods or assets of the same type. So in essence, the US dollar is fungible because you could exchange it for goods or services. You could exchange it for British pounds, something like that. It basically just means this is the foundational thing. This is something that can be transacted. Negotiable means that it can be argued with. It can be done on exchange. You can make money with it. There's different things that you can do with it. So that's what we mean by negotiable. Financial instrument just means that it is created by someone for the purposes of storing value or ascribing value to something that is layered on top of it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It represents an ownership position in a publicly traded corporation via a stock. Now, this definition is not taking into account cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency is so new. Securities can be cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrencies can be securities. The way that you define if something is a security is by running it through something called the Howey test that was established in the 1930s, I think, in a Supreme Court case. I can't get into all of that in today's video, but what I can do is I can break down what a security is and whether or not Gary Gensler is right here. A creditor relationship with governmental body or a corporation represented by owning that entity's bond or rights to ownership as represented by an option. Key takeaways. There are three primary types of securities. Equity, which provides ownership rights to holders. So, for example, I own 100% of our company. If I was to sell 10% of my company to Tim over here, he would be owning a security. He'd be owning stock in this company, and that would be technically a security in the form of an equity investment. Debt, especially loans repaid with periodic payments, and hybrids, which combine aspects of debt and equity. Public sales of securities are regulated by the SEC. That's why Gary Gensler is over this. Self-regulatory, that's not really important for this. This is the key takeaway right here that I want to really dive into. Securities are fungible and tradable financial investment instruments used to raise capital in public and private markets. That's the thing. Why does Robinhood or Coinbase or Amazon or Apple or any of these companies go public? Whenever you go public, what you're doing is you're selling ownership of the company on a stock market. If I were to go public with our company, which we're nowhere near the size to go public, but if we were to go public on a stock market and people were trading our stock back and forth, why would I do that as an owner? The reason I would do that is because I am putting stock out into the market, hoping to raise capital so that I can build a bigger business. I'm a business owner. That sounds great. If I could start selling stock to build a bigger business and I'm not worried about giving away ownership in the company, that's all fine and dandy. The problem comes is that whenever you're selling ownership in something to raise capital, the point is raising capital for some kind of business endeavor, that is called a security. And it needs to be regulated through the Securities and Exchange Commission for the sake of investor protection. That's the way it's set up in every single developed nation in the entire world. So we can argue whether or not that regulation is right or not, but we can't argue whether or not it exists. It is there, and it is law. Now, the reason that I say that I actually probably agree with it, now, I'm not a securities lawyer. This has not gone to the Supreme Court. This has not been codified. So I am simply stating an opinion. This is not a fact, and I could be very much wrong. ICOs, initial coin offerings, are designed for the purpose of selling the token, which you can look at as a fraction of the ownership of the project from the people creating the token, for the sake of raising capital for development of the token. It sounds a whole lot like what we just said here. The reason I broke all this down is because I don't want to make an opinion and then you not know why I'm stating this. Gary Gensler, as far as the ICO thing is concerned, very well may be right. And that's why XRP was going to the Supreme Court, and not going to the Supreme Court, going in front of the SEC, why they're having all these debates. XRP seems like it's not being deemed that. And actually, I think I agree with that. Here's the thing. This is a case-by-case basis thing. Every single ICO technically needs to be checked by the SEC. Not needs to be checked. I think the SEC is a joke, but probably will be checked by the SEC to see if it's some kind of security because they're raising capital for a project which represents ownership in the project. So, as unpopular as it might be, Gary Gensler might be right here. So that's my take. I would love to see what Chad is saying about that because I am sure I am getting some hate from that one.
No, I don't actually. I think that a lot of people actually agree with you. There was someone who said they don't really mind, and I'm kind of in the same boat because reading the article, ultimately that was what Gary Gensler was talking about. He wants to protect.
Yes.
I also agree with you. The SEC is a joke, but not every single person in there is just absolutely evil. But there's I can't even scroll to find it. It was a while ago. But they said, oh, no, it's right here. Michael P. said, I don't mind regulation so long as the goal is just structure and protection, not stamping the sector out of existence. It needs to be handled correctly.
Absolutely.
I'm in agreement with that. If it is true. So my minor understanding of what securities are and the reason why the SEC goes after things that they think might be illegal securities, let's say 9 out of 10 of them are solid and they're not going to cheat your money. But one of those 10, or let's even say 1 out of the 100, 1 out of 100 are going to cheat you and blow your money and lose it. I understand why the SEC wants to protect people from that. Now,
and there's been a lot of scams in the ICO space.
Yeah.
You just got to be honest.
Yes. So it's one of those things I fully understand, and I want to see what the regulation looks like as it plays out.
Yep. And by the way, guys, I can't speak for Tim, but I love ICOs. I think the concept of an ICO is a great thing. The problem is, because there is no regulatory structure around what we're doing here in crypto, there are a lot of big problems in crypto, like scams. It is prevalent in crypto. And by the way, somebody just asked, how can you say the SEC is a joke and then agree with Gary Gensler? You don't have to agree or disagree with everything that ever came out of someone's mouth. Like, I can think the SEC is a joke and then also agree with Gary Gensler. Those two things are not contradictory of each other. And here's the other thing that you guys need to know in case you didn't. The Bitcoin is not a security. That's already been confirmed, so don't worry about Bitcoin if you're holding Bitcoin. Number two, Ethereum is not technically confirmed. It's not a security. I've looked very much into it. There seems to be a consensus among the U.S. federal government that Ethereum is not a security. I completely agree. Ethereum is in no way, shape, or form a security. Cardano, same thing. Does not look like it's a security. Most of what Gary Gensler is talking about here are specifically ICOs. And also, the other thing is, if some kind of ICO is deemed a security, it doesn't mean it's going to lose all its value. All it means is that the creators of the ICO, if there is, unfortunately, still some kind of centralized control over the cryptocurrency, need to register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. It doesn't mean it's the end of the crypto. It just means there are certain regulatory frameworks that need to be followed.